Very, very excited to connect with you guys and be able to participate in an early morning call. Even during a holiday weekend, you guys are truly just a blessing of people who are willing to spend your early Saturday mornings with us for the purpose of personal development and joining this network and being able to share and connect in ways that we probably don't usually do at 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And not sure where you are in the world right now, but I tell you, here in Maryland, it is actually beginning to feel like Christmas. So it's windy and cold outside, but it's all good. And we're just thankful to be able to experience this new season that we're in as well. And just really being able, I tell you, Thanksgiving is just really one of my favorite holidays because we're able to really take a second to give thanks. And it's just, and you walk in the house and it smells good in the house. It's all types of great aromas, and so it's just a blessed time, and I'm thankful for us to be able to have this call today and this morning, and so looking forward to hearing from all of you guys on the line. If you're on the call for the first time, welcome. Thank you so much for dialing in and connecting with us. Couldn't be more excited to have an opportunity to hear from you and learn more about you and your all that you're working on right now, and how we can be of support in supporting your objectives. And just to tell you a little bit more about this network, we are a personal development network. We've done there's a host of um, professional networking opportunities that we definitely try to dive into throughout the year. And we do hope to have an opportunity to support and learn more about the things that you're doing in the community and in business. But more importantly, we really want to focus on you and what is it that you are here to do in this life, and what it is that where do you feel you are in this chapter of your life, and what are the things that you hope to accomplish and overcome. That is really, I would say, the crux and core of it all. We said this so many times. We are connected with opportunities where we see things that may line up with what our career interest is, um, and even someone may have positioned you with a great opportunity. But at the end of the day, it comes back to where does this line up with you and your personal objective in this life? What it is that you're here to do, and that you're not wasting time on things that don't add value to that core objective. And so we try to take this time and this second to stay on message, to really stay on message, to make sure that we're not getting too far outside of what it is that we believe motivates us, that keeps us fired up, that keeps us ready to go, that keeps us inspired. And and I'll talk a little bit more about this here in a few minutes. But I tell you one thing that's such a blessing about staying focused, inspired, and in line with what it is that you're here to do is the blessing of being able to be willing to pass and share, be willing to invest into someone else's life while you are in that zone, while you are in that flow. And and sometimes we seem like feel like we're giving from an empty cup, but that's why we try to have these types of opportunities to engage with each other and can reconnect. And so we're just thankful for all of you who woke up early this morning, wherever you are in the time zone, but to lend the energy that you have, the spirit of intention that you have for personal development, personal growth, taking your life from where it is to where you want to be. And so thank you so much for connecting with us and joining us here on this call. And for all of you who've been hanging with us over the past 9 plus years on this call and throughout uh, all the various activities we've been doing over the past couple of years, I tell you, I more than excited and thankful for you. There would be no active real network if it wasn't for you guys and your participation. It would just be me on here rambling, running my mouth, and hoping that somebody would dial in to engage in a conversation around personal development. And so it's truly a blessing. I'm thankful for every time and every opportunity we get a chance to reconnect for this mastermind call. So thank you. And we look forward to hearing from you guys soon on the call. Well, I just want to say thank you. I mean, I think that, as we are now kind of in this spirit holiday season, it's like Thanksgiving is kind of like the official. I know a lot of times people will look at Halloween as like the kickoff to the holiday season, but I'm always, as Thanksgiving comes, once we're past that, then now we're full into the Christmas season. And I want to take this time in this month of November, and over the years we would always try to prepare for the next year as we're in before the next year starts. And so we're in the month of December and already planning and really organizing what it is that we want to do in the new year. But as we are here in the month of November and we're giving thanks and enjoying this Thanksgiving season, I really would love for this call, and definitely this early portion of the call, to just take a second and reflect on the year. Reflect on the year and really highlight what it is that we're thankful for in this 2021. It seems like it just came and went, right? And we went through the kind of the whirlwind of a year in 2020, and the whole world stopped, and then we went into this year with great expectation, and now we're approaching the end of it. And so time doesn't slow down for anybody, but the fact is we're still living. We've all gone through different things. We've overcome things. We may feel like we've lost in some cases, or we may have lost people who were instrumental to who we are at this stage of our life. And so, I want us to just take a second and be, and reflect, if we will, just to slow down. A lot of times we're so, got our track shoes on, moving faster than we can ever imagine, and not taking a second to just, really reflect and say thank you for what this year has brought you. And whether it be the good, the bad, the experiences that you've had, at the end of the day, it's just various experiences that we are going through. Some are just, rock star, excited, overcoming wins, and some are the bottom of the depths, unbelievable lows that we go through. But the value of each of those roller coaster experiences is that it is an experience that is now in you. It's a part of who you are. And it's an experience that will give you, that added value as you are actively engaged in this flow of giving and receiving. And so, regardless of what the situation was, it's helped to shape you to who you are right now. And so let's take a second and just, take a second and really, reflect on the year, identify what it is that we're thankful for this year. And even if you'd like to share any additional experiences and things that you have are particularly thankful to have overcome, and maybe some of those things that you are still celebrating right now, there's no right or wrong, but we want to take a second and open up the call for anybody who'd like to really verbalize what it is that they're thankful for in this year, 2021. So we'll take a second and we'll open up the call now.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you feeling?
This is the I'm doing well.
Good.
I just want to say I am thankful that God allowed both my brother and my mother to survive. My brother was hospitalized initially in July and with pneumonia. Just got out maybe almost 2 weeks ago, and my mother the 1st of August with COVID, and she's still hospitalized in rehab. So this and entire time with me running back and forth at hospitals and doing things of that nature. At one point, my brother, it was time for us to make a decision, and he made a turnaround. The devil is a liar.
Wow.
And I remember almost right before Thanksgiving saying, God really has something, good for me because of the turbulence that I went through. And my girlfriend reminded me, he already did it because you didn't bury anybody. And I said, hallelujah.
That's real.
So that, that right there in itself, that I had a niece that was at a good friend of hers. She went to the store with them, and she left out of the store. She didn't have her phone. When she did, she heard gunshot. A gentleman walked up to a friend and shot him 7 times. She did a U-turn and said, "Oh, let me get out of here." The guy proceeded to shoot up her car because he figured that she had seen him.
Wow.
She was shot 3 times, once in the neck, in the arm, and the hip. This chick was able to keep driving. Talking to a boyfriend, he said, "Stop the car, I'll come and meet you." She said, "No, if I stop, I die."
It's it, yeah.
She met him, he took her to the hospital. 2 days later, she was walking out of the hospital.
Wow.
No surgery because the one bullet was through and through. One just grazed her arm, and the other one is inside her, but they said they would let it pass because it went to her hip and a vaginal area. And a week, my brother, I picked him up from the rehab, took him home, and Monday, the cops were chasing someone. Luckily, the car was parked in front of the house. The cops were chasing someone, shooting, and the culprit rammed the back of the van that I bought him. The car's totaled. So I can't make any of this.
Can't make it up.
That that has happened, but God brought me through it.
That's right.
And I think maybe my purpose earlier in the year. I think on one of the calls I told you about a contract I was trying to get. I got it in NSA, but I don't care to work there. I don't like it, but I guess God aligned me up with that so I can be able to take care of all this family business when things happen. I was able to take care of it.
Wow.
I'm truly thankful, for life and what God has done for me.
Wow. That I'm so glad you shared that, Doretha, because we can think back to some of the calls even last year, that experiences that you had, things that you were overcoming, things that you were going through, and not knowing that a lot of that stuff was just getting you prepared to be active and a supporter and a provider through these various situations that were that's on none of our radar. None of us are preparing, right? Just intentionally preparing for experiences like that, to have to really be there emotionally, physically, and every other way, financially, for our family and friends in their time. But you were ready. You were ready. And that is the true blessing. I'm so glad you shared those details.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared those details, because that is, at the end of the day, when we're preparing, we don't know what we're preparing for. We may kind of have an idea, we may have a completely different plan, but it's a blessing to be able to be there and allow that flow. And I guess the other big part to this is, and you really highlighted it, is that you've been able to be there for those folks and for your family, even now they're still going through it. And it's not that you've taken your eye off your own personal goals or anything like that, but that flow, that blessing flow. That's right. That is right. Thank you for sharing. Let's open up the call. Anybody else want to take a second? Let's open up the call. Let's highlight what it is that we're thankful for in this 2021. If you want to share some experiences, we'd love to kind of be here to kind of help you communicate that and take that in. But let's take a second. We'll open up the call for anybody who'd like to share. We'll open up the call now.
Good morning. This is Tatiana. So my quick thing is I've been able to pivot. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Pittsburgh now, and my father has been struggling health-wise for a while now, and it got to the point this summer where I needed to be home, and I'm just really grateful for the friends, for my father's friends, my mother's, for my own friends for sure, but just having those people who were able to step into the void when I had to make a decision and when when the decision was made. And so I made the decision back in July, and I've been here for 2 weeks since. So the biggest thing right now that's still a thing, and I know there's something coming, but I don't know what it is. I'm looking for all help. It's this process.
Yeah.
Is my house. I had someone in my house, and she was supposed to be set till July, and she got hurt, and my house essentially is empty. And I know that this month I'm paying mortgage and rent.
Yeah.
But I know it's time that it's ready. It's ready to be completely rented out, either as a whole unit or individual, units and have home share. So it's ready, and I'm just in the process this week or so, working with a property manager, but also just trying to make sure that it gets listed and there's somebody in there so I can rent my home out. But it's ready, and I believe it's going to get rented, and any leads anyone can share with me, I would definitely love to have.
Where do you live? I mean, where's the home at?
The house is about a half a mile from Johns Hopkins Hospital. It's about 6 blocks from the Black Museum. That direction on like Broadway on Bond, but like Broadway and North Avenue, but 6 blocks south of North. Well, 4 blocks south of North Avenue, and 1 block west of Broadway is Bond Street. It's fully furnished. And I think I have pretty good taste, but it's cute.
And so there's currently somebody in one of the rooms right now. How many rooms do you have available?
No, there is no one in any of the rooms of our room.
Oh. Okay. So
My baby is empty.
So are you renting out the rooms, or are you even open to somebody just renting out the whole house?
I'm open to both. I could do 2 separate rooms. I could do a master, and all the bedrooms have locks on the doors. So I could do the master as own unit, or the back room, the junior master, which is the back room off the back of the kitchen. It's full bathroom, bedroom, full size bed in the back, and a king bed in the front master bedroom.
Got it.
Okay. I did have someone that was that's been looking for quite some time, but I think that's a little further out north than the area.
They're looking to move to Baltimore?
And that's around. But she's looking more state, the North Southern High School in the Odenton, Booty area is where she's looking for.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But it's cute.
It is. I will say that.
I know it is.
It is. All right. Well, that's good. All right. So at least we now know that, because I definitely was thinking that those rooms were lined up. So and we all know somebody who's probably in transition. The question is the location, and if the location makes sense. And Ty, we probably should talk also offline just about the other options too, which I'm sure you don't want to talk about. But at the end of the day, there is a timeline on how long you will.
Open to all options. I'm open to everything. I just feel movement, and I don't know. I don't believe I'm coming moving back to Baltimore.
So don't say that.
Property.
Yeah.
But I am absolutely open to, again, all options if the right price is correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just a quick move. That's what happened. It's a quick move. Things were lined up, and now it's time for something different.
That's true.
I don't know what different looks like.
But you know what? That the cool part about that, and listen, and we all have been in that situation where we had the plan was set, and then things started happening that did not line up with that plan. and so then the next question is, how are we managing through kind of that unknown space? And you know, what the thing that I'm learning just about this, at least in my personal life, is that I need to get excited about the unknown, because that's where magic happens. Seems like it's like, but what long as we are so, it's great to have the plan in a direction, but when it starts to get fuzzy, to be in a position to, keep your spirits high, even in those unknown times, is when you can easily welcome and attract all the things that you didn't even know was available to you. So I love the energy that you're already putting out, around this, because some people could be just, kicking the sand on this, just upset about the whole thing. So, but I am going to hit you up this weekend, just to kind of make sure that you got all your cards, that you're thinking about all your cards, right? This was, you got the standpoint of maybe renting out the rooms, you got the standpoint of maybe renting out the entire place, but then there's other options just on the whole real estate side. So I'll reach out to you over the weekend so you can put everything in full picture.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, actually, Ty, before I jump on some other folks, I wanted to kind of have you also talk a little bit more about this, kind of like all of the process that you've gone through up to this point, because this year for you, kind of has been a whirlwind. I know you packed that in a little real quickly, but moving from Baltimore to Pittsburgh to your new place, managing the family, and if you could also just talk a little bit about, and you guys, I'll tell you why I'm actually having her dive in a little bit, because when it comes to these moments of transition and dealing with things that most people would call issues, where you get your mindset, like how are you kind of emotionally processing a lot of the changes that's going on right now. Tysana is also our resident professor on these types of topics. so it's always good to get your insight on these topics, because I got a note and a pen and a pad that I'm writing down and taking notes for myself, but also, when we have these future calls, I can go back and say, what did the good doctor tell us about this? So I just have you dive in a little bit more detail, just to kind of give us a little insight into your mindset on all of these various changes.
So mindset to me, before this season kicked in, I'm gonna say we'll call last year, 2020. 2020 really stopped me, and it taught a lot of us. As we were forced inward to really figure out what's really truly important. And in the midst of that journey, and that forced quiet time that we all had that time out, I recognized my mental health. The things that I was helping and doing for other people, I need to make sure I do for myself. And so the first book that kind of reset me and helped me reground is called the Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health, Dr. Rita Walker. And I was reading that book, and the minute I started reading it, I called some friends together and we did a book study. And it forced me to start digging deep and making more time, more intentional for me, and really pushing me around what my needs were, and being able to evaluate and analyze and move. And so as that kind of started really becoming more of a process for me, really digging more deep into spending time doing the things I love. I went to LA last year and I did a coaching with a young woman out of Philly. Well, I met her because I went to something that I needed to go to, Black and Autism. That's my field. I've gotten away from it, and that's what really brings me joy around meeting needs of children with special needs. Yeah. So they're doing that. Met up with her, and again, she's a mindset coach, and she's based in Christianity, and just all the things that I just really needed that just resonated. And so I just linked on, and the habits of getting up in the morning and praying, getting up in the morning to do the meditation and the exercise, and all those things have become daily habits for me again. And it's helped get my mind clear, and being able to listen to myself and trust myself again. And so when this happened with my dad back in July, is when it got ridiculous. And when I got here, I made the decision. I called one of my uncles, and he just let me know. And it was like, letting the universe guide you to people that you need to connect to.
Yep.
That was the lesson for me. It was the right person. My dad has a zillion frat brothers. Everyone loves my father, and they reached out to me. So again, I'm in the community. I've been auntie my whole life, but there have been people who've been auntie and uncles to me. And again, allowing those people to lead me because I was tapped in. And so I just think so often we have resources and tools around us, but we're not using them, and we're always serving others, and we don't allow others to serve us, and we're missing the relationship. That was another lesson I learned in this season. But allow it to be vulnerable, asking for help and allowing others to help. You can't always be the helper. Sometimes the helper needs to be helped, and that's the lessons I've been teaching to my mother. Deciding of a certain life that I want to live and how I want to feel, and setting it up to make that happen. And trying to share as much as I can to my parents when they're ready to receive it. And so some days my mom said to me, "Oh God, enough with all this positivity." And I just like, you're so ridiculous. And I'm like, I don't come out the house positive. I'm gonna cut somebody. Like I can go to our throat. So you better be happy about this, So, but recognizing that old people are not my ministry, and they know they're not my ministry. But I know it's not about me. I know it's about just serving, and I have to remind myself that God is using me outside of what He gave me, but He gave me enough to make it happen. And my parents know that old people are not my ministry. So they were like, "Oh, we know this is such a sacrifice. We know we're driving you crazy." So act better, okay? Act better. Try.
I love it.
So I laugh a lot, but I just want to scream a lot too. But it's a balance. But really knowing and setting boundaries and putting the lessons of therapy to use every single day with my parents. Just applying. Just like to say, everybody, apply it. Apply the lessons. Pray that you learn the first time, so you don't gotta repeat it. And move forward. And stay connected to things that give you energy and power and joy.
I love it. I'll tell you one thing. It's good to know what is and is not your ministry.
Old people are not my ministry.
Oh man, that is a fact. So this is good. So the unapologetic Black guide to Black mental health. So I just found that website, popped it in here on Facebook, on our Facebook live chat. And Ty, also check your email when you get a second, because I want you to take a look at something. I just sent it to you, and we can discuss that later as well. But I'll tell you, and I know you and I've had this conversation years ago, but then when you said something that made me think about your background in special needs space, right? And so that then my brain started popping off on. So I'm like, why didn't I send this to Ty in the first place? So definitely, let's catch up on that also. I'm getting this book, man. This is real. I am so getting this book, and that's the other thing, as we start, and we'll probably talk about this more in the next call. but really starting to line up, at least go into the year with kind of a list of books that you want to read, that you want to add into your library and to your get on Audible. I mean, I would say the truth is, for me, I do that every year, but something happens, right? And then I get introduced to somebody, or just like this, and then a new book pops up. And then you kind of have this goal of like, well, I'm gonna definitely, at a baseline, I'm gonna definitely do a book a month, right? At a baseline. And then you look back on the month, and wow, man, I just went through 4 books, But that's the good stuff, because it's now just all that. It's just you're getting that into your consciousness, and you don't realize it, but all of that information. I mean, when it's time to pull out that sword is ready. That sword is ready to go. And you don't even realize it until you're in that situation. You're talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. You remember you just read that book. You just read that chapter on this. Go in. This is time to, don't keep it to yourself, but share that information. So, Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health. Got it. And that's
really. And I also sent you another book. I'm sorry.
You did.
This other book I want to speak to quickly. It's called Secrets of Divine Love, and it's a book that's based upon the spiritual journey of the heart of Islam, right? So it's written as from a Muslim woman, and when I say it's the most beautifully written book I have ever heard in my life.
Wow.
Like, I finished listening to it, and I turned it off, and I started listening to it again. It's been in my car for like 4 months. But the alignment of Christianity in Muslim in Islam, and most people don't understand what the relationship is.
Yeah.
But really understanding. She talks about the history part of it, but also connecting to daily life. Like, Islam focuses on daily life living and interacting with other people, and the connection of art and beauty and poetry. So it's beautiful. I'm a Christian all day long. When I tell you, this book just really made me want to go deeper into the Word of God.
Yeah.
And allow me to see this God so differently. It's beautifully written. So I would say Audible all day for this one, if you want to hear it, and it helps you just change some ideas in your mind about what you thought you know. But most of us have no idea.
Yeah.
That was The Secrets of Divine Love, you said?
Yeah, Secrets of Divine Love by A. Hawa.
Yep.
Our love or divine love?
Divine love.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm posting this on here as well. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I gave up a long time ago thinking I know all this stuff, especially when we start talking about divinity and just the spiritual life. But so this is good. So thank you for sharing that. I just posted the link in here. And listen, anybody else, when you have like these type of books that have been a blessing, share them. We need that. Like, that is the core and crux of personal development. Actively staying, read and gaining information, whether it be through books or seminars or whatever the case. Just being in a position to take in the information. And even if it's sometimes, like, I read books that even challenge everything that I know and understand, not even the foundation. I may walk away. I guess that is the point, though. I try to, even in taking in a book that I think may be outside of my quote unquote lane and my understanding, my goal is to try to take away some information that could be of value, that at least helps me to understand somebody else's perspective on topics that I know and love, even though I may walk away still in disagreement, but that's not really the objective. The objective is, did I learn? Did I gain a new insight? Did it help add some type of value in my spirit and my mind? So definitely please share the good books. And if you have some, don't hold back. Jump on right now, just and make sure we get those peppered in here. So thank you, Ty Santa, I appreciate you on everything, just really outlining this. And we're going to be on the lookout. If somebody does know some folks who are looking and are in transition, and looking for a place to stay and looking for a place to rent, rooms or what have you, let us know. And I'll contact Tysana and make the connection, because we definitely want to make sure that that asset is being providing some cash flow. We don't want any stale assets. So cash flow producing assets for everybody who can hear my voice is what we're talking about right now. All right. Well, thank you, sister. Let's take a second. Anybody else? Let's jump in. Talk about what you're thankful for, what's going on, the whole nine. Let's take a second and open up the call now.
Well, since we have a couple shy people on the line, I do have an alibi. I know you know that, I had the two nonprofits that I work with in Detroit.
Okay.
And this has been a phenomenal year for us. We have a group called Jive Turkeys, only during the Thanksgiving time.
Okay.
And about 3 years ago, we started with just a couple of people, with, a friend of schoolmate Alpha fraternity. It started with just a couple of people getting together out of pocket to help some families, for Thanksgiving. Last year we turned into a nonprofit to do it, and this year fed 500 families.
Wow.
Donations, and even the Detroit Public Schools Foundation gave us a check for $13,000 in our efforts. So we went from just a couple of people out of pocket, just helping some people, to this metamorphosis like this, and it's been a blessing. And the organization for my high school, me and a couple of girls started a nonprofit, and the intent of the nonprofit was to be able to, collect funds legally to help kids in the schools. And we were blessed. Our last fundraiser raised $31,000.
Wow.
With the help of one of the local news celebrities who always wish he had went to our school. So we raised this, and we were able to bless some very talented students who, going to Juilliard, who didn't even have our equipment in our school, was falling apart, things of that nature. We were able to, bless them with two of the cymbals, which are like $6,000 each. And you can see, their faces, and more so even the face on the newscaster, when we, showed him what we were able to do, he just, broke down in tears, and it was just a blessing.
Wow.
So I definitely want to say, that it is phenomenal. And even the young man, I know you all in the group remember I was collecting.
Yep.
To send him to college. He didn't have anything. Needless to say, he's second year. He's at Notre Dame, 4.0 grade average, and just a football conference championship again. So we still stay in touch. I mean, this kid during COVID and staying at school didn't have anything to eat. They were feeding these kids peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Wow.
I could not believe it. But he continues to persevere and doesn't ask for anything. And I'm just glad that anytime he does need something, and I'm not his parent, but I can be able to provide for him.
Yeah.
I told him, as long as he's sending me some good grades.
That's right.
Other than that, I'm going to take the phone.
That, first of all, see, you got to lead with that. That is huge.
You're right. I'm so thankful. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That is huge. I mean, so much packed into that, and definitely, and I'm glad you mentioned the young brother, because at the time he was in high school, and now doing well in college at Notre Dame. I mean, that's prestigious school, great football, and if he's still doing well as academics, I mean, hopefully by now they're providing some scholarships and some additional dollars for him. But keep us plugged in when he's running into challenges, things like that, because we want to be able to help follow these kids through the process of college, and so they can focus on doing well there and not having to sweat and wonder how they're going to get through this tuition or eat while they're there and all that. So keep us plugged in. But that is great news. And to know that you're the nonprofit and you guys have your programs throughout the year to be able to raise money, lined up with the motto of your program, and still being active even through a crazy year, all the things that you already highlighted with family challenges, but still being able to raise great money during that time, and being able to feed 500 folks. I mean, that's beyond awesome. So I'm glad you shared that, because that helps to put a lot of this and everything that you've shared into full context.
Thank you for allowing me.
Yep. All right. Anybody else? We're getting close to 8 o'clock, but we want to get as much in. I know this has been we're at this point of Thanksgiving, and a lot of times we don't. I don't know what your day-to-day process is and how you guys handle, kind of looking back. We try to make sure that we do take a second to look back and really verbalize what it is that we've overcome and gone through, even though we know we're so focused on the future. And you know me, I'm a quasi-futurist, if you will. Like, I love looking forward and moving forward. But today we want to take a second and just really slow down and just, take in all that has happened this year and reflect on that. And then really, be thankful, and dare I even say, be proud of yourself. Proud of yourself to stay connected in the ways that have helped you to overcome those situations. We want to give thanks, but we also want to make sure that you kind of digest everything that has happened and recognize that this is now, all these things can be an added value to you long term. So let's take a second and we'll open up the call now. Yeah, my brother.
Hello.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning. Caught me,
Uh-oh. Let's do it.
I set my schedule up in the morning for a call. Now we're doing a 2-hour call. Hit the street. By the time I get back home and settled, the call line opens up. So it gives me the ability to sit down and relax.
Okay. All right. All right.
However,
this is all contingent on a 2-hour call, though.
Thank you for that. And when I said it was going, I was like, I need to get my notes. So now I'm going to have to check. I was ready, but I'm not. I'm still on the street. I'm not. I'm out here right now, sucking up this cold air, and it feels amazing. So
the call is recorded, by the way. For if you need to go back, the call is recorded.
I'm talking about involvement. I like to just get my fingers in this thing, man. And extract all the necessary power I need to try to make all the things happen that I got written down.
That's real.
All that being said, as far as 2020 goes, and when you talk about gratitude, I was like, man, I'm grateful for the basics. That was my first thought. I'm grateful for the basics, family, health, a clear mind, connection with God, and all these things that, like Cassandra was saying, when you practice this stuff, and all these things that gratitude practice is something that I do.
Mm-hmm.
A simple thing in the morning, it's real simple. You just got everything down and keep going, and then go with the day. Some days you feel like, you hit something. Other days it was just like a routine. But it's always there, for I don't know, 19 through 20. A lot of times it's 5 or 6 things that you like, that you're grateful for. But and you do it by yourself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But to hear it, and I guess you get this out of church, but to hear it publicly like this, it warms me and it makes me feel like, wow, I am
so much more grateful for the things that I have and the basics, my health, my family, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had any of those a situation like Santa did for what's her name?
Doretha.
The lady that just spoke. I know her name.
Doretha.
I apologize, Doretha. I definitely know your name.
Oh, okay. You know, get on you, yeah.
I know. You had so many things. You didn't know the game. You gave away 500 turkeys. I thought you was Nino Brown. I'm like, okay, so Detroit giving away turkeys off the back of the thing.
Nino Brown.
500 families. Now I know what that is, Doretha. Anyway.
The Carter.
Back to the community. Nino Brown. Yeah,
Nino.
Carter.
I love it.
But to hear all of that,
and they look forward to it.
I know they did. But to hear those stories, especially the recent story about people getting shot, this happening here, and to really be thankful. And I know Tatiana's thing is happening with her parents, and what she's doing. I'm just so grateful that my immediate circle and we have health. We haven't gone through those scenarios yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, it's coming. Somebody's got to get sick. So just looking back at 2020, I just am grateful that those things haven't happened. And that
Yeah.
and that I do have the people that I love that are important to me that have been just in regular issues. Mad about this. My things got pushed out of my cart in Amazon. Damn, I can't get this. Oh man, I was late to this meet traffic. I got to get brakes on my car. Basic things that people complain about. But I'm so happy that that's the only issue that you have, and not major things like not that I talked about. I'm really feeling grateful. And I'm grateful for the fact of being on a call, because being in this public thing allows me to feel the gratitude about the things that are simple. Because sometimes when you don't see those extreme situations, you don't hear about them, you get caught up in your own foolishness, and you get to be great. So when you hear stuff like that, you're like, wow, I'm so grateful. And then they hear them talking about how grateful they are about being in that situation is even more, inspiring, and it just strengthens our gratitude. So I'm glad that we get that. I'm just, grateful in general. So that's what I got. 2020 has been pretty basic. Not no real major issues. Nothing to complain about.
Yep. That's a blessing, brother. I mean, that's surreal too. I mean, I think one thing, here's the other part to it, and this is almost partly why I kind of went back to Santa earlier, was, it's one, on this call, we've been doing this type of thing for a long time. We've had, kind of that mindset conversation around where your mindset should be in life, period. Knowing that the good and the bad is getting ready to happen. Good things are getting ready to happen. Bad things are getting ready to happen. But where are you regardless? Kind of like Jim Rohn talks about setting the sail. What is your sail? Where's your sail set to when the roller coaster happens? It's one thing, and because we've been talking about that for so many years, it seems normal to us to have these type of this kind of brush off little stuff, but for two reasons why we want to make sure that we stop and talk about it is, one, there are other people listening. There are people who are on call for the first time, and who knows led them to the call. And it could be the first time. It's brand new. Like could be the revelation of all revelations, right? Something that you have identified as a normal way to think about the world. And then the other part to it is to slow down. And I have to tell myself that. Slow down and really just say, thank God, man, because this has been a lot has happened. And just because I started setting my sail right earlier in the year or whatever year, doesn't mean it hadn't been a crazy year. Now when you start comparing it to other people and you're like, yikes, okay, You know, one thankful that I didn't lose anybody this year, or tragic or something. You know, and so things like that. But we just want to be able to digest the fact that the blessing of being able to overcome challenges, but at the same time, the 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 importance of communicating what we've gone through, and the thankfulness of being able to have the right sale, have the right mindset through these various experiences that we're going to have, the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, all of it is coming. And we just want to make sure that we're ready, because I've seen several people who, as soon as the great stuff happens, they can't emotionally handle it. Great things happen, they go into, I'm way better than all y'all. So, and what? And so emotionally, it's just too much. And we got to be prepared for that as well. You know, especially if you really, for those of you who are just, hitting home runs, and, making sure that your mindset, your spirit, all is really in alignment with the flow. And so, and I'm going to take this time, and I would reach 8:00. And anybody, feel free to jump in if you'd like to share. I'm going to take this time for me to kind of highlight, my 2021, what I'm thankful for, the experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, before we transition into the topic for today. And I will say kind of the same thing, is I am definitely thankful for just, the consistency, of, if somebody tells you something good, you don't just let it go on deaf ear, but you take that in and try to apply it to your life every day. And, we started some things last year. At the end, this time last year, we're like, hey, we want to start, starting a new year. We're going to create a workout group, and we're going to stay consistent on that. And that's what we're going to do. And we've been doing it all year. And it's definitely helped. I can say personally, it's helped with it's helped me physically, but it's also helped with my mental health, because it gives me that time to just kind of escape and clear my head while I'm trying to burn some calories. And then, Paz will send out his text way early in the morning, and you're like, God, okay, all right, let me get up. He's already done 4 miles or whatever, and we're like, okay, all right, let me brush off whatever's going on, and trying to get into a rhythm, some consistency, and just knowing that you don't really know what it's helping you for, but when you have a little cold, it could have been worse. If your body wasn't right, it could have been really bad. When you're trying to think through certain things, and things are very complex, and your mind isn't cluttered, and you have the mental, capacity to take on complex, opportunities and challenges, and so those are some of the things that, I want to verbalize and just say thankful to have those things happen. And then even within the family, and being the blessing of being able to, I was able to go home and see my folks, and be in a room and hug my mom and dad and my siblings, which I hadn't been able to do, in almost 2 years. And that was a big deal. And on top of that, was able to go to Florida for an entire month and not have to take that time off, but to be able to go to Florida, be able to work, bring in new clients, see friends and family, spiritually reconnect, which is what I knew I really needed to do. And it was able to happen. And then you walk away from those experiences, and I walked away saying, yeah, this is something I have to have in my life. Like, this should be a normal thing. It shouldn't be like, oh, wow, really? It needs to be, oh, that's just what's happening. Because, when you think about this life that we're in, the things that give you energy, the things that matter to you, and then it's important to unpack why they matter to you. Why do these people, places, why do those things matter, and to talk about why they matter. And because the more details you are able to verbalize and put out into the universe, into the atmosphere, and say, yes, this is why they matter, because these are the people who raised me, and these are the people who poured into me, and these are the people who introduced me to this, and this is the place where I learned that, and just be able to communicate that, then you begin to fall in love all over again, if you will. Be able to deepen that relationship with those people and the places that matter. And so, and I'm highlighting the words that matter, because it's just, we could easily get off message. I mean, people are waiting to throw you off message. People are waiting for you to, they will throw the most insignificant things at you just to try to throw your spirit off. And what I have also learned is that, unfortunately, there are people who don't even know they're doing it. Their mindset and their energies are so off that they don't even know that the words that they communicate, that they share, are just throwing people off. And people start trying to avoid them. And so it's important to, just the blessing of being, in that space where you're doing all you can to make sure that you're positioning yourself to add value to people, and not being a deterrent to somebody's life. And hopefully, and if you are in that space and somebody says, hey, yo, listen, you're killing me right now. And somebody is honest enough with you, because a lot of times folks will just avoid you and won't be honest with you and just keep moving there because they don't want to deal with you. But somebody's honest enough to you and say, listen, you're killing me right now. Like, what? I'm not sure where this energy is coming from, but it's wrong and it's getting on my nerves. They may say it, may not as nice as the way I just said it. But when somebody stops you and gives you that bit of information, do not get defensive. Please, I pray right now that you do not get defensive when somebody says you are killing me right now. Take that information and check yourself. It's going to happen. Sometimes we're going to get on people's nerves, right? That's just, we're not always super enlightened. Sometimes we are getting on folks' nerves. And when they tell you that, take that information in and just check yourself. Don't fight back. So, okay, no, I'm glad you shared that with me. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, I have been a little off. You're right. That's just what it is, So we are human, and we go there. But yeah, I'll tell you, I'm just thankful for this year, and thankful also for trying to stay creative. Mentally creative. That is a big thing for me. I remember maybe it was last year, a couple years ago. Actually, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, in 2019, before COVID. And I was having these crazy headaches, and I wasn't sure what was going on. But I ultimately did a CAT scan or MRI, and they found like these, my sinuses were just really infected. But prior to that, I didn't know. I was just like, what is going on? And it had gotten so bad to, at one point I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, how, like, when you think about your way of life and how you earn income and all that, and so if you work, if you're a laborer and your legs get cut off, wow, now you're thinking, man, I just lost my livelihood. How am I going to go to work and do my, do what I do to earn income? And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, my mind is what pays the bills. And if I can't think, I'm in trouble. Because I can't fix nothing. Like, I don't fix nothing in this. I don't fix nothing in this house, man. My wife is like, that's why I married you. So I'm like, hey, do we know a good handyman? I'll pay him top dollar, because I'm not that. I'm not him. So I'm like, yo, this is it. Like, my brain was like just going through. I was like, I can't think. I can't just think from one to the next. And it hit me. It was a fear that just punched me in the face. I was like, wow, like, never really. And I'll tell you, to be honest with you, after that experience, and I've, thankfully started, doing all the things necessary to try to clear up those sinus areas. But what it did, though, it made me get really focused on documenting everything. just documenting verbally or on paper. You guys probably see me on here. If you're watching here, I mean, this whole journal, I actually, if I turn around into my little library over here, I mean, this is literally like 4 different reams of full pages, documented stuff that we've been talking about, strategies from client meetings, just all of the stuff. And, I figure, at some point, that information, if my brain says, hey, I'm done, then I can at least say, hey, go take that information in them books and see if we can get some money coming in here, because there's great information in the books. And whether it be, we figure out a way to monetize it. I've had that conversation with Paz. I say, hey, Paz, something happened to me right now. Just know all of my information is in these books. So you guys need to figure out a way to monetize it to feed my babies. so but so you're just thinking about the blessing of going through things and then working on what's next. And so that's it. I'm just, and just the family, we just have been able to, we've been going through stuff and trying to keep things moving. We've got a young daughter and all of that, and got a wife and trying to keep her happy with me. So you want to keep the house good. You want to keep the relationship strong. You want to keep, and then you got this transitioning period of this child who's growing. We were raising a toddler, and now she ain't a toddler no more, right? So it's like, well, how do we raise this person? We were raising a little baby, it seemed like the other day. How does that work? And so it's this ever-changing, approach that we have to be comfortable with and prepared for, and learning new things every day. And then at the same time, and I'll just end on this also, when you think about, it's partly why I was really eager to get home, because it's like, just as the relationship between myself and me and Maria and my daughter and trying to raise her, but then also the relationship between my parents who raised me, but they are getting older, and so just really being able to, take all of that in. Everything is moving, and there's nothing's stopping, nothing's slowing down, but being thankful for, just the awareness of it, and then the ability to act when we can and do everything possible. So, and the food was good on Thursday. It was good. It was right. And we were able to have enough money to pay for a meal. And we didn't have a big bunch of people at the house, and it was still, kind of managing that. But it was truly a blessing just to be able to have that and say thankful and be thankful and move into this new season. So, all right. Anybody else would like to jump in before we dive in for the rest of the call? All right. Well, we took a little bit more time on that than I thought was necessary. I mean, I thought it was important for us to do that. But I really wanted to, as we kind of go into, because I was just looking at the calendar, and I tell you, December it's going to be interesting. I don't even know how we're going to have to do something unique and special for December, because the last Saturday in December is actually Christmas Day. And so I doubt if we would have a call. If we do, I don't know. We have to figure it out. And I'll be actually in Florida again, thank God. So we'll figure out what we're going to do for December. But I definitely want to take a quick second and kind of talk about, we talked about books earlier, but I got to go in on the month of November and the books that I've been able to read this month. I actually read 3 books this month, but I'm only going to talk about 2 of the 3. Even though the first one was really good, but it's not in line with this conversation. 2 books I read. This one is Vernon Can Read. Vernon Can Read, which is the autobiography of Vernon E. Jordan, Jr. And if you don't know who Vernon Jordan is, Well, first of all, he just passed away this year, I think in April. And Vernon Jordan is the most powerful black man most people don't know. You know, that's probably the best way to explain to explain who he is and what he really meant to black progress, you know, and opening doors that nobody knows that he's opening these doors. But I want to just highlight the fact that Vernon Can Read is a book that everybody under the sound of my voice should get. I don't care, black, white, Hispanic, Caucasian. I don't care what you what you gotta get that book. And the reason why, and I would just tell you, and this is very personal from the standpoint, I felt like, and I was listening to it on Audible, but I felt like the entire time I was listening to that book, it was as if I was sitting in the room. He was sitting in a room with me and just providing guidance, mentorship through his story. And there were times, I mean, there were times like before the book had even ended, and the same with this other book I'm gonna get to. But before the book had even ended, I had a couple of meetings, some contentious meetings, right? You know, some meetings that were just that required the tension was thick, right? And the only thing I could think about was Vernon Jordan. And I said, what would Vernon do? And as soon as that hit my mindset, this kind of, you know, steel resolve, you know, just hit my spirit and was like, okay, what are the facts? What are the facts and where are we going? What are we trying to do? Because a lot of emotion is in this room and boom, 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 and all that. What are the facts and what are we trying to accomplish? And it was powerful. It was powerful for me, and it was a blessing to that agenda for that meeting because we were to get through it. We were to get to the next point. And it was, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, to give you a little context, you know, Vernon Jordan, born in 1935 in Atlanta, first housing projects in the city, grew up right there outside of the AUC Center with Morehouse, Spelman, Morris Brown, Clark, Atlanta University, all right there, grew up in that neighborhood. And so it's interesting because a lot of times when people of that generation talk about they grew up in a housing project, it's much different from folks in my generation talk about growing up in housing projects. If you grew up in a housing project during segregation, you know, especially during his period, you know, and especially given the proximity of where his, you know, where his house was. I mean, you could live in a housing project and your next door neighbor is a dentist or, you know, or the pastor or the lawyer or educator. I mean, you know, it wasn't low income housing. You know, it was a situation of that's the way y'all had to live, black folks, get over there, you know. And so it was a dense population. So he was surrounded by these great educators and a mama who was just willing, who was just about it, you know, and nowadays, you know, who was just about it. Didn't have a great education, but she had the will to be great. And she made herself great and her kids great. And the times, and he at a young age, I think, understood the times. And that is so powerful because when, you know, being someone who you're a young person, you know, you're in high school, you're looking into the future. And yeah, you're ambitious and want to be a successful person in life, but you also understand the times that you're living in. And he was just a kid who was just committed to destroying segregation. All the weird things that came with that, he always looked at it with this. those times are coming to an end. And people are like, what are you talking about, boy? Get your behind over there and be quiet. He's like, what you see and know as this, well, you can feel comfortable calling me a boy. Though the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. And to be young and able to understand that. And the thing about it is, it's one thing to just kind of in a theoretical world think that things are just going to get better. That's one thing. I mean, that's cool to have that level of optimism. It's another to say things are going to change, and I'm one of the change agents. I'm going to be one of the change agents, and I'm going to, with all of my power and as a young boy and will to help make this happen. So went from going to an all-white university at DePaul University, graduating only black in his class, going to Howard Law School, which at that time was kind of like the West Point for the civil rights movement. I mean, they were training lawyers to go in, in Jim Crow. You're going to these, we're going to graduate with a law degree. We're going to send you to the worst places where Jim Crow is being held on like lockstep, and we're going to end it. Did that, had some landmark cases. Went from that to working as a field organizer for the NAACP. He was his counterpart. He was the state field director for the state of Georgia. His counterpart was Medgar Evers, who was the state field director for in Mississippi. And they were working together at the same time. He's younger than Medgar, but that was kind of his buddy. They were growing up together in the civil rights movement. Going from that on to UNCF, leading the UNCF, going from there to Urban League, running the Urban League, and then transitioning. And I should also throw in here real quickly that, even before, early in the 70s, he was in his 30s, he was introduced to the secret society called the Bilderberg Group. And has been a member of that group all the way up until his death. And he was roughly single-handedly the reason why the world knows Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton had lost. He was the governor of Arkansas. He lost his election when Reagan came in the early 80s, and a bunch of other Republicans won when Reagan became president. And he was on his way out of politics. Vernon Jordan showed up and said, nope, this is how this is going to play out. This is what you're going to do. You're going to run for re-election. We're going to organize. I'm going to get you connected with these folks and that folks through our Urban League networks. We're going to strategically place you in these battleground state markets to get in front of black people. And we're going to do this for the next 10 years. And that's exactly what happened throughout the 80s. And by the time 92 came, he had a team. He had people on the ground who understood and knew who he was enough to get that dude elected president. And so it's just a crazy, quiet story that most people don't know, but it's one of those examples of it's important to well, first of all, it's important to have mentors, dead or alive. We talk about this all the time. Who do you listen to? You listen to the people who have what you want, people who are doing things that you want access to. And if you don't know how to get it, then you just listen. You get access to them in some kind of way. You read the books. And they always say, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. Well, we're going to destroy that because we have to get in the books. And the beautiful part, people say, I don't have time to read. Okay, well, you got time to listen. Put it on your Audible. Drive around in your car, whatever. Get the information in. Because we have to recognize that the resources that we're looking for is here. It exists. It's even when we are at our most frustrated point, what we're trying to find exists. And all it takes at that, and the way to find it is to really get to the point of thinking about, well, who are my mentors? Who are the people who I admire, who I'd like to get access to if I could, if I lived during their time period, if I was around during that time? Is there any information that I can get? And I can tell you that that's the beginning to follow the crumbs, the breadcrumbs. And you're able to begin to get some information. And in that book, it'll talk about other things that you had no clue about. And then you start following that and start following those breadcrumbs. And then you get to that book and it told you about something else. And then you're following something else. And before you know it, you've immersed yourself in this world of resources, of information, of making things now possible that seemed impossible. And so it's just important to make sure that we are getting the right information from those who we admire and we want to get access to their story, and then make it, resonate with where you are. You're not trying to be a carbon copy of somebody, but there is great value in mentorship and being a student, and being able to hear, listen, understand, process, and then apply. Put it to work. Don't just sit on information. Just get right into practice. So I will show this again. Vernon Can Read. Absolutely powerful book. There's also actually a documentary that was done, I think, last year or maybe just before COVID, on Amazon Prime Video, called Make It Plain. So if you go to Amazon Prime Video, Make It Plain by Vernon Jordan. It's an hour documentary, packs in a lot of what we talked about in this book in an hour, but it's a great way to get your palate wet to all that's out there with this man and his work. Highly recommend that book. So that was Vernon Jordan. And then just yesterday, I finished, and Paz, I sent the book to Paz, and I want to just be clear. If you don't have it, you got to get it. I finished the book, Will Smith's new book. It's called Will. If you're looking here on Facebook Live, you can see on YouTube, here's the book cover. I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. Really, at the end of the day, you got to get the book. You got to get the book. It is, it's so entertaining. Let me just say it that way. It's very entertaining. I mean, I felt like I was watching a movie. By the book felt like a movie. Because the interesting part is we know Will Smith. We've known Will Smith for 30 years. Actually, maybe even longer than 35 years. 30 plus years we've known this man. All the way from Parents Just Don't Understand to his most recent movie. The interesting part about that, and this is why these autobiographies are I love autobiographies, is because when it's somebody somebody that's famous, let me say it that way, we think we know them. And he actually was able to articulate this in a way that I hadn't really thought about. But he highlighted the differences of how we think we know people depending on their genre. So if they are, if they are a politician, then we know in one way. If they are a singer or a rapper, entertainer, we know them that way. If they're a movie star, we know them another way. And we have these different ways that we expectations of them based on how we know them. If it's a sitcom, people who we know through sitcoms, we feel different than those superstars or those movie stars. But I'll tell you, the one part about this book that was just so, very interesting is that we know this guy who's now, even today, he's probably still the highest earning actor. Every time he does a movie, I think they pay him $25 million or something like that. And he definitely was like that for a stretch, for a solid 10 to 15 years. And so we saw that side. What we don't know is what led to all of that. Like, why was there just this constant objective to win. And then we look at, and so, because on the surface, like, wow, this dude is killing the game. He's winning. Woo, like, yo, like, yeah, that's what I want, kind of thing. But I wrote down, and I actually want to, kind of highlight what I wrote down about it. It was, I think it was the situation in the case of Will, and you'll see in the book, is that he, it was a defense mechanism, because he grew up being the kid who was weird, awkward. He called himself a coward. His dad was this strict, strong disciplinarian who was also an alcoholic and also an abuser and all those things. So you got this guy who's raising you, who has his own, conflicts with life, and he's raising these kids under his code, on this military code. But it's also, so they're trying to listen to him and be trained and by this man who's also whooping on his mama, right? And so it's like you're seeing all these different things, and it's confusing to a kid. And he's like, "What should I protect my mom? Should I just let it happen because he's my dad, or is he going to beat me?" And all these different types of things. And it ultimately made him grow up. He felt like he grew up to become a coward because he wouldn't, stand up to his dad, and carried that early seed from little boy all the way to recent time. And so, that piece in of itself is, we all can look inside ourselves, can look inward and say, what are those things that we just from a kid, from that first, and we I think it's a couple of years ago, after we did the Michelle Obama book, the Becoming book, and broke out, let's try to remember and associate the greatest experiences and the worst experiences in like those 10-year increments, our first 10 years, our 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and really helping us to kind of revisit, unpack, get all the stuff that you swept under the rug out and revisit, because it's your story. And more importantly, when we start talking about things that we have currently going on in our life right now that we can't really figure out, like, why is it that I keep doing this, or why is it I keep doing that, and why, since I can't get over that hump, and these different things, but we've lost touch with that early person, that early us, where the original, we have to look at our foundation, and just stare at it, right? Because the older you get, the more you just have a definitive thought about your foundation. Either you're happy about your foundation, or you hate it, or you see it as a foundation with cracks and things like that. But it's important to go back and to try to understand what those early fears were, those early fears that are now so deeply woven into our subconscious that we, it's a part of us. It's a part of our behaviors and who we are and how we approach life and things we will do, things we won't do, why we won't do it. Like, sometimes we don't know why we won't do things because it's been so long ago. But I just finished the book yesterday, so I'm still kind of trying to process it. But I'll tell you, it was one of those situations where I started to understand, especially from movie stars, why we hear about like movie stars who are like addicted to drugs or drug overdoses and things like that, because the changing of the roles that they have to play, especially if they're good at it and they have these box office, smashes, and they become whoever this new character is, and they're, just kind of going back and forth between the next character and who they are as a person and in the life they're trying to live. But then that other layer is that, what if like the life they're trying to live and the characters are all just one big vehicle to try to run away from that early pain in the first 10 years. And that thing that you can't fully get away from. So, well, I'm going to just create a whole new life, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'll get this kind of family. I'm going to do all these things. And it's all just a facade to get away from that early childhood issue. Heavy, very entertaining though, because I'm gonna tell you, listen, he reminds you that he is one of the baddest in the game on every level, from rapping, hip hop. And he gave you the story of hip hop. I mean, it took you back. He played the music. I mean, it was such an entertaining book. But I will just tell you, and I was telling my wife this, the entire time as I was enjoying the book, and it was very entertaining, and loving every chapter, I felt bad from the entire time. The entire time I was like, just want to pray for that brother. Bow your head. Let's pray with this brother. Like it was like that. And what's even more interesting is that the way the book ended, it just brought us up to current time. And so it's not like you've said, oh, okay, wow, okay, he's good now, right? It's a point of, here's what I'm doing right now to attempt to resolve my early issues, but it's a work in progress because he's still living, and we hope this brother has a long, healthy life. But it was such a definitely one of the most entertaining and gripping books of the year. Definitely of the year. Just a lot. And I highly recommend you get it. And so you can walk with your own interpretations and see what you see. But I think that the bigger point for me was that I walked away from those two books really thinking about the importance and the importance of love and value, and what that means for us. We think about, he talked about how one part he talked about it. Will talked about his grandmother, and his grandmother basically, his grandmother was my grandmother. So, he talked about how his grandmother was like, she was this lady in the church who wasn't just in the church, but was the church, was like, her embodiment was, if there was an example of what God was trying to teach wants out of his people, is to these people who are just like walking, loving, examples of love, if you will. And he was looking at her in the way she was just so easy to give love, and the way she did it, and her commitment to her church community and that kind of thing. And then looking at the way others, so his parents, and the way they were approaching, it as well. And those various conflicts that ultimately made up his foundation, the way he's attempted to understand the world and people. But the way, when they had her funeral, and the way everybody felt when she died versus the way everybody felt when his dad died. It was like, he said, listen, when we went to my grandmother's funeral, he's like, I couldn't even cry. He was like, I was just sitting there like with a smile on my face and just listening to everybody talk about my grandmother, and like knowing that everything they said was the fact, because it was very true. He was like, we were just all so, thankful that we knew who she was, and we were a part of her daily loving experiences, and to be proud and all of that at a funeral, like really kind of it was more like a celebration. He's like, whereas with his dad, who was this, living conflict of love, support, alcoholism, pain, challenge. But the interesting part, and which added to the drama of the book, it's like he literally called him. His dad called him and said, "Hey, I think it's time." I think it's time. And he's like, oh, okay. And literally he died like an hour later. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, is this real? He called him, hey, this is it. Come on, whatever you're doing. Like, I know you're on a movie set somewhere. You need to square some time away so we can FaceTime because I'm about to die. and he died. Like, I'm like, what? So it's a great book. But I just think that it's just so important for us to, as we're really thinking about this, I started actively thinking about, one, when we think about love and what that really means. And I sent the post out where it says love is the love is a daily exchange of value. So you're just actively giving value, what you understand as value. The things that you have, you're giving it for the purpose of being of value to somebody else daily. And a lot of times people are like, well, what am I get back for that? What am I getting back? And the point of love is like the giving is the receiving. Like if you're giving value, that is it. Like that is the value back to you. And so it's like, and what's interesting, point that came out, and I wrote this down and said here that love is life's greatest experience, and we can have more of it if we focus on giving love instead of receiving it. So if love is life's greatest experience, and our mind, our thoughts, all of our energy is focused on giving it, then we're going to have a much more experiences with love than the people who are just waiting around, waiting for somebody to give them love. Why nobody love me? Why nobody, I can't find this. I can't, because you're sitting around waiting for somebody to, do something for you. When are you going to just start pumping it out? You got it. It's in you. You already got it. And actually I was going to, another point, and you guys know, or those of you who have been on this call for a while, know that I love the book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And the chapter 2 on here highlights it in a way that I just love it. And so it says here is that the law of giving is chapter 2, the law of giving. It says the universe operates through dynamic exchange. Giving and receiving are different aspects of the flow of energy in the universe. Giving and receiving are different aspects of the flow of energy in the universe. And in our willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. So our willingness to give what it is we want, what it is we expect, in this world, our willingness to do that keeps us full of the experience, full of that love experience. Our thoughts are on giving. Our actions and what we're doing is giving. Our plans are about giving, and so that takes over. When that's taken over your mindset, then it's like, I don't have time for the petty. Like, when do you have time for petty stuff? When your whole thought process is about, okay, how can I be of benefit? What can I do? Who can I reach out to? Who did I see that was going through something? Like, what are some people who were me, 10 years ago? Where are they? So I can connect with them and start, I was going to give you a quick example, on LinkedIn, a lot of times you'll see, I get these updates from people who I know and people who if I may know them and all that kind of stuff. And then so now it's so interesting. I wish I had this one 20 years ago when I was trying to graduate from college. But I see a lot of these finance students popping up on LinkedIn. And the reason why they're popping up on mine is because they've been reaching out to alumni, to Tuskegee alumni, trying to get, access to jobs and internships and things like that. And I'm like, okay. I definitely would have been all on that 20 years ago. And so I've made it my business to start. If I see it, boom, I'll link them, and then just shoot them a note. Hey, hit me up. See, you're a finance student. I was a finance student 20 years ago, and this is what I do for a living. Let's talk. What are your plans? What's your issues? What are your challenges? And just be excited about it, because you're getting ready to talk to yourself. That's the way I look at it. Like, man, like I wish I had somebody call me and just dive in. I remember at that time, I was ready. I was a sponge. I was like, yo, oh, you're doing that? Can we talk? I was so ready to talk to people. And I would have loved to have somebody call me. And so I just think about it from who I was 20 years ago and what I needed 20 years ago. And can I be that for somebody else? And that's just a small example of trying to encompass my thoughts and my mind around, and my energies and time around things that will help develop the love experience and then share it. So, and so I mentioned, I hadn't talked about, we hadn't even gotten into like these, relationships with your wife or your spouse or your brother, your sister. We're just talking about random acts, right? Just like finding ways to invest in somebody else who needs it. They need it because you can remember where you were at that time. And again, it's not that we're not here to save the world, but we can be valuable in the areas where we know we can be valuable. Like, that's the thing. Like, Tysana said it best. She's like, I know that what my calling is, and old people is not one of them. It's not my calling, but you know what your calling is. If you know what your calling is, you got to stay in that lane and just go heavy in it. Like, just really be a real change agent in that space. And when I say change agent, just somebody who's willing to do something in the space that you understand, in the space where you have experiences, in the space where people, if they talk to you, they're going to gain something. That's your lane. Now, granted, we can always jump outside because we want to learn new things, and we can lend what we know to these other new things. But there's nobody in the world there's nobody who can say, you know what, I don't have a lane. And your lane is your experiences, the things that you know, the things that you understand, the things where you can share an experience that may be everything to that person who is going through it right now. And so just to put that into context, and I just want to end this on value and making sure that when we connect, that, recognizing that we're trying to encompass our time with as much love as possible, just on an ongoing basis, so we can, love is our defense mechanism from pettiness. So petty can't get in. Small stuff can't get in. Simple-mindedness can't get in. Active, ongoing love experiences and activities and things that you're doing is the lane you want to stay in. The value is one, and I wrote it down here, so I want to say what I wrote. Okay, so value of giving value. The value of giving value. And so knowing the worth of your experiences, perspectives, and abilities. So when you know that your experiences, the way you see things, your understanding of things, and your abilities, the things that you can do, if you package that and say, what is this worth? You can't let someone else tell you that ain't worth nothing. Like, the things that you've learned, the things that you've gone through, the way you understand those experiences, the things that you would have done but you didn't get a chance to do, which is part of your perspectives, and your abilities to actually do that, your willingness to do things, to take those experiences and perspectives and apply it to markets that need it, that is high value. It's extremely wealthy. It's extremely worth something. And that's what I walked away from Vernon Jordan's book, is that he recognized that his perspective, coupled with, and there's probably a formula there that we can probably build out, like, experiences plus perspectives times willingness equals, change agent or something like that. Some type of, for you math heads who need an equation, if you put it in that form, then now you recognize that you're already in this loving objective, but now you're bringing the worth of your values and combining them together to do the work. And that's what Vernon Jordan did. He was like, okay, I can see what you guys can't see, because I'm so committed to restructuring the way this society is, that you can call my granddaddy a boy and he is older than your granddad. That this young person can look at my granddaddy and call him a boy. Like that. And so some people will allow that to just dampen their self-worth. But he saw into the future generations. Imagine living in the 1950s, but your mindset was in the year 2000. Your mindset already saw a young guy, black guy named Barack Obama running for president. But in the 1950s, you were able to visualize that and stay so committed to that work that, he ended up living 85 years and was able to see it all and to able to be a part of that whole experience. Even though he told Barack, he's like, this ain't your time. So he told Barack, hey man, I think what you're doing is great, but now is not your time. And Barack said, okay, cool. And then he got up publicly and said, I was wrong. Now's your time, brother fly, kind of thing. So that's what I got. It's this love and value, conversation is worth us really digesting and really trying to figure out how to apply it to our daily life. So we can really stay on message, avoid all things that will deter you, especially the small stuff. But I will say this sounds like a big thing. It's so important to create a simplistic approach to allowing this love and value movement to work. When I say simplistic, you guys know I love kind of that 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, bap. That's what I'm doing. Love and value in 3 programs. This, that, and that. That's it. So now it seems like this big thing that was so, I don't know how I'm gonna ever be able to do this. And it's so much. Now it's broken down to 3 objectives. 1, 2, and 3. There's two couple things that matter to you, where you want to spend your time, place your time and your energy on those things. And now it's not this big audacious thing anymore. Now it's simplistic. It's edible. You can digest that. You can easily begin to, employ it into your life. And then even you can say, well, do I have to do all this right now? I mean, you can be strategic. You can say, okay, great. I got 3 programs or 3 objectives. The first one, I'm going to start January 1st. And we start that January 1st. And then we say, okay, great. And we can do this in 90-day increments. The first 90 days is the first task. The next 90 days is the second. The next 90 days is the third. So you're not like just really trying to overtake your whole life with this new approach, because you want to be realistic as it relates to what's going on in your life. But that is, being strategic means I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm just being strategic. I'm just saying this is when I'm going to employ these various objectives into my day-to-day so I can be confident that I'm going to do it. Versus it was just too much. Like I just had all this stuff going on already and it was just too much. So I didn't do it and I procrastinated. Don't let that procrastination enemy try to do that. Just be strategic, plan it out. Just, okay, first 90 days, next 90 days, now create this nice little rhythm for yourself that you can begin to feel good about, because you see things happening, because you didn't try to, put too much on your plate, but you are doing the work, and it's work that matters to you. It's stuff that you, in your own mindset, in your own, organizations and people you want to work with, and, resources you want to gain, and you just making it happen. So that's all I got. We're at 8:56 past. We took us to 9 o'clock, brother. So this is official. And I tell you, I kind of feel okay with that, because I'm not sure if we're going to have a December call. So, I don't know. We're going to figure something out. But anybody have any questions, comments on this whole conversation, love and value and the books, all of this stuff, man? It's a lot of information, but I wanted to make sure we shared this. And so we'll take a second. We'll open up the call now.
I just want to say, I'm thankful this call was right on time. I missed the light one, but, it was meant for me to be on this call today to share this, but not only hear this. And I just want to remind everybody, today is Small Business Saturday, so support those Black businesses in your neighborhood.
That's right. Small Business Saturday, Black Business Saturday, the whole weekend. Like, and then and I cannot get off this call without talking about Giving Tuesday. I do want to say this. I think the combination of those two books, and this is heavy, and Paz can tell you this is heavy for me to say this, but I will say that these two books back to back, I'm glad they kind of went back to back. But actually, I will say I walked away from those two books, which was literally yesterday, saying I know what I want to do, and I know how I want to do it. And this, I'm not talking about like right now, but like for the rest of my life. And after having that conversation with myself, the first thing that popped in my mind was I want every year, I want Giving Tuesday to be like a big deal. Like, I want to just be able to have, like, I don't know, like I remember growing up with like the Jerry Lewis telethons, where it was, and they used to do the UNCF, mine is a terrible thing to waste, which Vernon Jordan used to be the CEO of the UNCF. Or was it? Well, maybe that was mine is a terrible thing to waste. Was that UNCF or was that? Yeah, that's UNCF. So, but it hit my spirit that Giving Tuesday for the rest of my life will be a big deal in my life. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. Well, Giving Tuesday is always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So just if you don't know what Giving Tuesday is always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It's the Tuesday after Black Friday, really is what it really is. Because actually Thanksgiving is kind of weird. So I probably shouldn't say, oh no, that still would be the case. Yeah. So it's always the Tuesday after quote unquote Black Friday, which usually is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving. But I don't know what that looks like. But all I know was it was immediately went to my spirit yesterday and said, Giving Tuesday will be a big deal in my life forever, and maybe past my life. If it becomes something,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll make sure you have the link to our nonprofit, because it's designed as one of the biggest fundraising days for nonprofits. Last year, because of COVID, we actually had one also, in May, and we were able to assist some families that have been affected by COVID. So I'll make sure you
send me the link.
The link, again, awesome, sure will.
Send me the link. And here's the thing. And so it's okay. And I want to combine with this, because so what does that really say? So if you say, well, for me personally, if Giving Tuesday is now kind of a premier thing for me, then what about, getting rich and becoming wealthy? Because don't you want to be able to give a lot of money? And the answer is yes, I do. But it's not about me giving all of my money. It's about me being able to influence all of y'all folks to give your money too. So that is my prayer. My prayer is to be able to, one, be financially independent where I can give as much as I can and not even blink about it. But that's not really the power. The power is being able to influence people I don't even know to give to these causes that matter to the folks who are willing to write the check. That's what. And the more I think about it, the more I talk about it and verbalize it, which is why I like folks to verbalize stuff, because the more you throw it out there into the atmosphere and make it real, the more excited. Now I'm like, okay, like I'm like, Giving Tuesday is like 2 days. What are we gonna do? I don't even know, but we're about to do something. Like, we're really about to do something to really. But that's just for me. That was my personal aha yesterday. And I challenge you guys to look for those personal light bulbs that pop off like, oh, you know what? I need to do this. And don't get nervous if you don't have all the answers yet. Just get excited about that epiphany, that idea. Just get excited about the purpose of it, the reasons around it. And then all the other stuff will start it'll just start coming together. That's why when Ty Santa was talking earlier, about, hey, yeah, I would like to get some people in my house, but you know what? I'm open to what the universe is going to do, and that's real. And that's a real thing. So, all right, we're definitely past 9 o'clock, but let's take a second. Anybody have any questions, comments, want to jump in, throw in your stuff? You didn't get a chance to talk earlier about giving thanks. Let's do it. We'll open up the call now.
Hey, she got me again. 2 times this call. 2 times this call. When you text me about the Will book, I seen it coming, and Will is obviously superstar and all that.
Yeah.
Ability to promote, put out all the stuff, and he's been on a nice little roll with the well, I guess since the beginning. But like recently, the thing was with the movie about Venus and Serena where he plays the dad.
Yeah.
Has been, something that I've really been, looking at. I said, man, I got to go see my man play Venus and Serena's dad. I got 2 little girls, and that story is important to me. It's just an important story for me personally to see, put on the screen, and how they interacted and how they became who they were. And then when the book hit, I was like, I got to get it, but my Audible credits. I blew my Audible credits out day one when it hit. So I said, I'll catch it next round.
Yeah.
And then, you slammed it up and went through. And I was very excited to hear your take on it. And, and I'll be checking them out, soon. And it was good. It was very good. And the thing about Vernon Jordan, who I thought, we had talked about before, and you had mentioned who he was, and him being kind of the black hand, if you will, behind, Clinton and all these other great things that have happened for us during that tumultuous time before we, as we were trying to still get a grasp on freedom and, and do things and who he was. So we'll put them both together, add another layer to my blackness, which is important, super important, and see all these different ways that things happen and figure out how great people did great things.
And
you brought those 2 up.
And definitely for you, Paz. I was gonna say real quick for you, Paz. Actually, and this is just kind of way I internalize a lot of stuff, but the combination of Will Smith and Vernon Jordan should hit real home for you in a lot of ways. And one, because Vernon Jordan is a Howard graduate, and he talks about Howard in a way that I haven't heard anybody. He talks about Howard in a way that I've never heard anybody else talk about Howard. The only other person that I would say has kind of give some brevity on Howard similar to him is Douglas Wilder. Doug Wilder, who was the governor of Virginia.
Really?
Doug Wilder, and he's still, that brother, I saw him the other day. He's 91 years old. He looks like he is like 57 or something. That dude, It's like, so he's another one.
Yeah.
He's another one.
You start looking into those legal guys and those guys like that in that era. You said, you described it well. It was that West Point, at the time, it was the place where, they were churning out these titans in law who were, affecting things, so like Thurgood, all those guys, they're coming out of there ready to fight, ready to go fight, going right down there to the Jim Crow South.
The belly of the beast. But I'm gonna tell you, I personally, and this just may be me because I'm always looking for like some way to, rev up my spirit about something. I will, if I hear anybody, like it could be somebody who was born and raised, or grandmama went to Tuskegee, or grew up in Tuskegee. I quickly find some type of resonance with that. Like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's my cousin, right? And take on whatever it is that happened. But I think that's that, being part of that historical piece of it, and saying and having it be a part of your story. You know what I'm saying? And because there are times when you got to be ready for that part too. It was a couple, I don't know, actually this was this before COVID? It must have been before COVID actually. But before COVID, I went to UMBC to speak to some kids, like these woke black kids. They had this organization called, I don't know, it was like Black Lives Matter organization or something like that. And was speaking to those students there. And this sister, and one of the young girls, she asked me, she said, what was it like to go to Tuskegee? And that was nowhere on my brain, but when she said that, it was like Booker T and George Washington Carver and Lewis Adams and everybody welled up in my spirit, right? And I felt like I was elevated, like I started floating.
What was it like? It was hot.
Hey, yo, I started floating, yo. I started elevating. I was like, whoa, I felt myself rising off the chair. But it was starting to just flow. Just flow. And to be able to, and so from her perspective, right? From her perspective, she was like, how old is this boy? Like, how old is he? Was he there in 1881? Was he there? But to be able to give it to him, right? Just like, that's, I don't know, but that's just me. I get fired about stuff like that. But so yeah, I think I'm not gonna go into why, but you know why that whole will book, especially the first 2 or 3 chapters, I can't wait till you read them chapters. I cannot wait because it's gonna hit home like.
He's on my list. He's on the wall. He's one of my guys. He's on the wall. He's one of my guys. There's no question. It's purely based on my desire for research.
Yeah.
And the fact that I didn't have a book before, but so I have to get in there because I think he is on the wall. He is one of my mentors. He is one of the people that I look to in certain areas and certain things that he does. And his energy is one that I've always connected with. I've been with him for his time. And but the most, and that's good, so we'll learn and get that. But the one thing that I did get, which I'm really gonna focus on, I guess, in the next month, from your slogan and your value,
love and value.
Sorry, love is giving value daily, right?
Yeah.
So. All the ones you pick are always good, right? And, they always resonate. But this one was at a high level. It's probably the best one you've ever put out there, as a fact, as a blanket statement. Because when you go into love, you got love. But then you said is, and then, the word is it's a powerful word. Love is.
Yeah.
Is a strong thing to say. Taking love and then saying is.
Mm-hmm.
Something to say. And then you said giving. and it made it real because that giving part is an action word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a verb. It's something that means, you know, that you're actually doing something. I've heard it said a bunch of times, and I've always agreed with it. That, you know, love is not a feeling. You know, it's an activity. Love is something that you do every day. You know, love is not, you know, sitting at home, you know, with your heart broken because, you know, oh, I love this person, or I love that, or I love this, or I'm in love with that. No, it's real love is that daily activity of something.
Yeah.
You know, it's something. It's an activity somewhere, that action piece that really is what locks in love. And then when you add, you know, in the daily, and then, you know, giving value, and the way you described it as, you know, you want to always add to something or someone in some way. It's like, it's tough to say, you know, this is the perfect description of love, because it seems like, you know, did you uncover it? I don't know, brother. You quoted off this one, because love is giving value. It's like you may have, you know, it's like not the Holy Grail, but you know, it's definitely the Ark of the Covenant. Like it's definitely on Indiana Jones. You really found it in that statement. If you just sit down, everybody on the call, sit down and like writes out those words and thinks about each one, you're like, damn, he's figuring it out. You know? And
figured it out.
It's real though, you know. And if you figured it out, some of them. So I was actually, when you said it was over, I'm like, you could have done it right there. You know, I love a 9:15, a 9:20, a 9 whatever. But I'm like, you really it was good. And then to focus on that, just I'm gonna meditate on those words, like really, you know, push forward throughout the month, and you know, be aware of, you know, who I love, what I love, and am I daily giving value to those things? And if I don't, do you love it? You know? Do you really love it?
Yeah.
Is it really love? You know? So, and then if it's not, then you can say, well, hey, I'm not giving for whatever reason. Maybe it's not. Maybe I should eliminate, you know. And for me, you know, I do love these things, so I can give more, add more value, and boost that love in that area, which is a powerful thing, which is what we really all are trying to do, you know, here on this planet. So that's why I say this was one of those ones, man. You know, you definitely pulled out Deepak on the back end. I said, okay, we're on a roll. Great call, sir. Fantastic call. Bill Clinton to Deepak.
From Bill Clinton to Deepak. A lot, right?
Bill Clinton.
But you know what? I'm gonna tell you. But here's something that I was actually yesterday really trying to unpack, really, because I had a conversation earlier this week. It might have been yesterday, but the day before, with someone who clearly was struggling with their value, you know, and what their value is. And I could relate, because I actually, you know, earlier this year, and I talked about mental health. Mental health for me has gone up in the areas of priority, because I had some low moments, definitely last year, but then even it got into this year and was still kind of had some of those low moments where was starting to question my value, you know, and just was like, you know, what am I really, what needle am I moving? You know, it's like in anything, like you start looking at your marriage, you start looking at your parenting, you start looking at your friends and what you're doing on the job, and just looking at all of it. It's like, I ain't moving no needles nowhere. Like it was like, and if you uncheck that, if you don't address that soon enough, it just goes on, and you can find yourself in a bad space. And so I understood when you know, when she was talking about her value, and she's like, yeah, you know, I drink all the time because you know, what else am I here to do, kind of thing. It's like, but because I was able to go there myself and recognize, I understand. So we got to unpack value. Like, what is value? And then once we kind of understand what value is, then now we got to understand we got to throw worth into it, self-worth into your own value. And so that's what that whole piece of trying to say, your experiences, your perspectives, your willingness to do the work, that's it. So, but I think that this love and value is a topic that it's not going to be a one-off one. We got a lot of work to do on that because back to your original point around, now it's a measuring stick, so now love and value is a measuring stick. You start looking at doing an assessment and all the things where you're spending your time and looking around and, who's in my life, who's not in my life, why are they there? Am I applying love? And we have to just look at this as what you're giving and don't get out of the whole thought process of what you're receiving. We got to completely blow that up from our brains. And that's hard because we're used to, well, hey, I gave you something. Why you didn't give me nothing back? You know what I'm saying? But we got to get out of that because we stop the flow when we start thinking about what we're going to get back. What are we getting in return? So and that's hard because we were, you know what I'm saying? Just so many of us been doing it for so long. It's hard to stop something that you've been doing forever. But that's the reason why I said this isn't the last time we're going to talk about this love and value piece. But when it is a great assessment tool to start looking around, like, what am I giving? Who am I giving it to? And what's failing? And do I need to stop doing this? But that also goes back to what we were talking about being strategic. You can't do everything right now, but you can say, you know what? Here's what I really want to work on. 1, 2, 3, 90-day sprints. 1, 2, 3. Number 1, 90 days. Number 2, 90 days. Number 3, 90 days. And, make it realistic, if you because we're not superhuman. I mean, we just, we all busy folks. Everybody on this call has responsible for other people and got your own stuff going on. So, but we just have to be strategic, and that's it. So we can talk all day about this thing. I mean, this is this is real. Anybody else want to jump in? Have any questions, comments before we finish up? All right. Left it all on the table. You guys, listen, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy it. Moving into the holiday season. So there's a lot to be thankful for. This topic of love and value is going to play very well into the season that we're in. And so I'm thankful for that bit of books that led to that inspiration to be ready that we can all kind of digest over the next several weeks. Because I think we could really, if we do this right, we could go into this new year with a whole new, fresh mindset, concept, energy, perspective, all of it. Let's try to be intentional this month as we go into December and really begin to unpack this whole piece of love and value and prioritizing where we're spending our time, why we're doing it, who we're doing it with, what have we neglected, what can we invest more in, where do we fall into all of that. This is just a great time to do it, and all in the spirit of gratitude and thanks all at the same time. So have a great weekend. I will let you guys know what we're going to do in December. It's probably going to be something different, because Christmas Day is the next call, but we'll figure it out. All right. Have a great weekend. Have a great holiday season, and we will see you soon. Mm-hmm.